When I first bought the M1 iPad Pro, I didn't think I'd keep it this long. And yet, years later, this is what I still use to watch movies, play games, and even edit these videos I put out on this channel. It's all done on this iPad Pro. Through all the years, it has only been getting better, and with iPadOS 26, it's now more capable than it's ever been. So, having said that, is there a reason to upgrade? To find out, we'll talk about how it performs on the latest iPadOS 26, as well as battery life, and how long this M1 iPad Pro will last, so you can decide for yourself whether an upgrade is reasonable for you. iPadOS 26 has added lots of new features like window management, background activities, and so on. And though they massively enhance the iPad experience, they're all very hardware-bound. But despite a 4-year-old chip and only 8GB of RAM, the current iPhones have 12, it still manages to push through. My biggest fear was that window management wouldn't work properly, but it does just fine. In fact, I use it quite a lot in the day-to-day, and I've yet to have it crash or close active apps on me, so RAM hasn't been an issue. I've also been doing lots of photo as well as video editing on this iPad. It hasn't had any issues dealing with Sony 4K clips, the timeline has always been smooth, and any changes have been applied instantly. But I've noticed that near the end of an edit, when the timeline is full with B-roll, sound design and all kinds of effects, it may need a second to think before doing something. But then it smooths out again. So this is mainly due to thermals, because I've noticed the same happening when editing photos in batch. So when it comes to raw power, it genuinely has enough of it still, certainly more than you'll need, especially if you're not pushing it as much as I do. Simple UI stuff and even liquid glass effects work pretty much flawlessly, so there's quite literally nothing to worry about. Battery on mine is still original. I bought it new back when it first launched and it's held up reasonably good. With video editing, I get 4 to 5 hours before it's cold dead, but with mixed use like browsing, emailing and etc., I get a full solid day of battery life still. Though if you'd be buying one used and plan to actively use it outside or on longer trips, I'd probably consider a battery replacement. That said, the screen is excellent. It's held up even better than the M1 chip. On the 12.9-inch model, which I've got here, you get a mini LED display with best-in-class color accuracy. It's barely any less than the OLED panel on the M5 iPad Pro. To put it simply, watching anything on it is a blast. Working is even better, especially if you deal with colors a ton. I, for example, even use it to play games through Steam Link, because of its high refresh rate and rich colors. It's a really enjoyable experience, quite frankly. Speakers is another area where it hasn't aged one bit. It's got 4 of them, same as on the M5 iPad Pro, and they all sound exceptional. There's really not much to add to that. Storage, however, is the biggest practical limit. I've got the base 128GB model and it runs out pretty fast. I have to keep all my videos and B-roll on a separate drive, which is less than ideal because not every app supports external storage. And speaking of apps, I've barely got any. I have no clue where all the storage keeps going. That said, this is gonna be your biggest limiting factor here. But speaking of limiting factors, one way to get more out of your iPad is to have the right accessories. And thankfully, our sponsor ESR offers just that. Their Shift magnetic case not only protects your iPad, but also gives you plenty of viewing modes, which I've enjoyed while watching movies and gaming, but you also get a neat writing mode, so you can rest your hand without strain while taking notes. And you don't even have to worry about any wobble. The case itself is very stable, regardless of what surface you have your iPad on. There's also a portrait view mode, which you can use for FaceTime or browsing, or maybe even looking up recipes while cooking if you're into that. Though speaking of recipes, since the back case is easily detachable, you can also attach it to your fridge and use your iPad for movies while cooking or reading news in the morning. It's a pretty neat feature, and the magnets are strong enough to hold it, so you don't have to worry about it falling. And on top of it all, you also get a neat Apple Pencil holder, so it's protected as well. If you're interested, check them out. They also come in plenty of colors for your liking. But if you want to take it a step further and protect your display too, ESR's got a tempered glass screen protector, which is exceptionally easy to apply. There's pretty much no skill required. All it takes is to put your iPad screen up inside the case, press and slide on it firmly, and then pull the outer layer. That's how you get a dust and bubble-free install of a thin and durable screen protector. In fact, it's tempered to the highest possible hardness rating, so it's definitely worth it to give it a look. All the links will be down in the description, so don't be shy and check them out. So, how long will your M1 iPad Pro last for? Well, we've already figured out that it's got enough raw power and RAM, the speakers and display are still top-notch, and if Apple's update history is anything to go by, it will get at least another 3 major iPadOS updates. I wouldn't be surprised even if it gets 4, so if you've got one, you're genuinely set. The only limiting factors are storage and battery, and that's something you have to decide on your own, based on how much yours bothers you. But given the prices of newer iPads, if it's just the battery, I'd rather simply replace it and enjoy the iPad for years to come. Speaking of prices though, should you buy one in 2025 or 26? The thing is, availability is very bad for these, and I wouldn't trust the second-hand market when it comes to older iPads, because it may involve lots of scams and poorly refurbished iPads, which you don't want to end up with. Neither are the prices there. So the only feasible choice is to get a refurbished one straight from Apple, which will get you a basically new iPad with full warranty coverage. But for $829, I just don't feel like it's worth it. I wouldn't specifically say there's better deals at this price point when it comes to iPads, but the price is high enough that it's worth throwing in another 1 or 2 hundreds and get the newest M5 iPad Pro. I'd basically treat this as an investment. But if you've already got an M1 iPad Pro, I genuinely don't think there's a reason to upgrade.